Okay, we're just going to go through some examples here and kind of a quick review of all the details. We're going to go through two scenarios. One of the first scenarios is in fact just completely arbitrary. We'll make up names, we'll make up volumes, and just sort of put things together. So kind of work along here. We originally have, this is exactly what we started with. This is my original disk. This is my DOS partition. This is the partition used for the sys volume. In there, I have a pool called sys and I have a volume called sys. I have a free disk space of 12 gigs or so. I have added 2 additional 20 gigabyte drives, and they're just sort of sitting there with nothing on them right now. Just showing of how and where I can do this. I'm going to start off with the very first volume and clicking on create on here. Typically, it's not a great idea to add a lot of extra stuff to the same physical drive as your operating system, but again, this is just a sample scenario to sort of wrap your mind around this whole thing. If I click create on here, I'm just going to create a pool. I'll keep the pools and volumes separate for right now. Later on, we'll give a much more practical scenario, and you can see how easy it is kind of to actually apply in a practical sense. So I'm going to create a new pool. Again, just for practice reasons, I'm not going to use up all 12 gigs. I'm only going to use up maybe half of that, so 5,000 megabytes or 5 gigabytes of it. I'll go ahead and call this pool 1. Normally, again, I'm sort of making disclaimers on everything here, but normally we call the pools the same thing that we're going to associate the volumes with. But again, to keep them really separate mentally for this part of the exercise, I'm going to name them separate. So I'm going to create a pool 1. So now you can see that it did create an additional partition, a 5 gigabyte partition, and then it automatically created the pool under there. We have no control over the partitions. We just have control over the pools. Partitions are created automatically. I still have 6 gig free, so I'm going to go ahead and create another pool under there, and I'll go ahead and call this one pool 2, and I'll just use up the rest of that space, like that 7 gig that's free. When I click create, it created another partition and the pool that's in it. Neither one of these have volumes. I'll go ahead and add volumes to these right now. I will call this volume 1. And out of just practice, consistency, for our purposes, adding directory quotas and user space restrictions, and then clicking create. Again, there's no size. You don't create a size for a volume. Volumes just use up or assign to a pool space. And again, the practice of just immediately mounting the volume. Looking down at pool 2, I have no volumes. I can click add a volume there as well. And just very basically, I'll call it volume 2. Do directory quotas, and then user space restrictions again, and then click create. And so now I have those I can work with. I still have all this free space down here. I'm going to go ahead and go to that second drive. And on that second drive, I'm going to click create. And I'm going to create a new pool. I'm going to keep these all separate. And I'll call it pool 3. And I'm not going to take up all 20 gigs of that. Maybe 5 gigs. Oh, I forgot to mount the volume 2. Let me mount that real quick. Okay, going down to pool 3, I'm going to click a volume, and I'm going to add volume 3 to this. And again, directory quotas and user space restrictions, and create. And try not to forget to mount the volume. So as you can see, I have lots of partitions going on here, lots of pools going on, and then I do still only have a single volume under each individual pool, but you can sort of see how that all fits. If I want to start expanding some of these volumes, that's where it's going to end up creating additional partitions and then automatically spanning those pools. So it's going to take a partition from one drive and a partition from another drive and make it one big pool for you. So in this case, volume 1 is sitting at about 5 gigabytes. sitting in pool 1, and I want to make it bigger. Say I want to make it 5 gigs bigger, so I want to be able to have it as 10 gigs total. Here are the drives I'm working with. This one says I have 20 gigs free. This one says I have 15 gigs free. If you're trying to figure out specific drives, do note this is drive 1, which is your second drive, and this is drive 2, which is your third drive, because it always starts with drive 0 for numbering. It's interesting that these are reversed right now. Normally they are in order, I thought. I want to add that 5 gigs to this second drive, though. And again, I'm just taking 5 gigs worth of it, and I'm going to expand it. And this is where you can start seeing where it gets interesting. I now have a partition on the first drive that says it's used by pool 1, and then I have a partition on the second drive that's also used by pool 1. And then combined, it's going to show you the combined disk space or pool space of approximately 10 gigs. But it says 4 gigs here, 5 gigs here, and then 5 gigs here. Say I want to expand this further, and now I want to expand this actually onto that third physical disk, and maybe just choosing another 5 additional gigabytes. And I expand it. And now you can see that on the first disk, I have a partition used by pool 1. On the second disk, I have a partition used by pool 1. And then finally, on the third partition, I have a third disk, I have a partition used by pool 1, giving me a total of 15 gigabytes for pool 1. Again, volume 1 never changes. We don't increase the size of volume 1. We never designate any size or whatever. Volumes purely take up the size of the pool. If I click up on volumes right now, I can see that I have volume 1, 2, and 3. I click on the info button next to volume 1, and it does in fact show that I have 15 gigs, even though it is just all these chunks and all these different physical drives. How's that so far? This is recorded via video. You can replay it multiple times. and pausing it and just redoing it as this is going through, I think, would be very, very helpful. Okay, that's completely abstract, and the point of this exercise is in fact to show of how it can be split apart and how it all functions together. I'm going to delete all this, put it back right from scratch, and show you a much more practical application of how it's done on a normal basis. So I have 3 volumes. I have volume 1, 2, and 3 right now. In order to start getting rid of this stuff, I actually need to dismount them. So I'm going to dismount volume 2 up there. I can dismount volume 3, and then down here, dismount volume 1. So now that they're dismounted, I can delete them. So delete volume 1, delete volume 2, and then delete volume 3. Now that my volumes are deleted, I can delete my pools. I only have 3 pools. And again, as you notice, like if I delete pool 1 right now, it's going to delete this reference and this reference and this reference because it deletes the pool as a whole. So when I delete pool 1, all of those go away. Pools 2 and 3 I never expanded, so you're not going to see them in any other partitions. So you can just delete those pools. And then pool 2, I'll delete that one as well. Now all you have left are just these empty partitions. They're just chopped up pieces of your hard drive. We really need to get rid of them because we can only allocate space up to that partition size. So if I really wanted to have a 20 gig partition, I have no 20 gig partitions left. I would have to, at most, go up to 10 or 15 gigabytes of free space, so I have no large partition areas left. So I'll go ahead and deleting all those extra partitions. And we're right back to where we started. A much more typical scenario is I need to have some volumes for my data. A very common volume for data is in fact data. It's a data volume. To do that, we usually designate a drive for that. We take a drive, we put it in the server, and we're going to designate this drive for that volume. To simply do that, you click on Create, and we can do the pool and the volume right at the same time. We're not using the weird names of Pool 1, Volume 1. We're going to do it the traditional way of creating our pools and our data and our volumes with the same names. And so we can do this all in one shot of naming them. Now, as you can see on the screen, we can actually name them individually. We could actually put Pool 1 and Volume 1 at the same time. We're not going to. We're going to name them the same. Keeping the directory quotas and user space restrictions the same, we're going to click on that and click Create. And then mount it. So it's not this weird chopping up anything. It's this physical drive is going to be assigned to this pool, and this pool is going to be this volume. So very similar to Windows. We buy a drive, a hard drive, the whole thing becomes a one partition, we make it the C drive, and we're set. So now we can almost say that this physical drive is now, in fact, my data drive. But still think of the very specifics on here. Another common place to store data, especially for personal data or for user data, is in fact like a home volume or a user volume. And it can go both ways. Just for this example, I'm going to call it home. If you want to call it users, that's fine. But again, I'm going to allocate a specific drive, a physical disk, and I'm going to click Create, and I'm going to create a new pool and a volume at the same time. In this case, it's going to be home, and then home, including directory quotas and user space restrictions, and then click Create. And mount the volume. So everything's nice and clean. I have one disk for my operating system, one disk for my data, and then another disk for my home or personal data. If one of those drives, in fact, was going to fill up, most likely the cleanest way is to take a whole another drive, insert it in, and allocate the entire amount to that new volume. Doing a quick review of just adding another drive to this, to your server. I know it went kind of quick before, so we'll just do it again. Is I want to switch to my server, going up to VM and then settings. I can add additional components on here. Click Add. I want to add a hard drive. And it's going to be a new virtual disk. And choose a default for there. And let's see here. I wonder if I can do a terabyte. 1,000 gigabytes, right? Technically, yeah. I'll click Next. Did I say single file? I hope I did. And I click OK. Now it's added, it's physically plugged into the server, but I still need to enter the command for it to scan for new devices, which is in fact the command scan for new devices. Typing that in and hitting enter. I'm not sure. I've always done it this way. Excellent question. The question was if there's a graphical way of doing this, kind of like in Windows Device Manager where you click on the button for scan for new devices. Just used to doing it this way. I will check on that and see though. Once that's on there, once I come back over here to partitions, well, I'll click over here and then partitions. I should see new drive. It's 1,000 terabytes. I can't use it until I initialize it. Once I initialize it, I have all this free space, 999 gigabytes free. Data starts to get full. I could expand that entire thing to the free space on here. Don't do it to the free space on where your sys volume is stored. Again, that gets a little confusing again, a little mix up type thing. I want to do the whole thing, expand it, Now I have a really big drive. To see that, I can click on volumes. I can click under the info button on data. And in fact, I can see that I have a terabyte drive just sitting there and 100% is free. What's great about virtual machines is that it expands the data as it needs to be. Even though I just put a terabyte drive out there, if I look under data and then let's see, virtual machines, Novell, Open Enterprise Server, it's only using up 4 gigabytes of space. If in fact I started copying a terabyte worth of data out there, it would in fact use up a terabyte of disk space. We only have that much of real disk space. So, questions? Any questions? Okay. What I would suggest doing now then, since you have your drives all there and volumes set up the way that you want them to, a couple different ways. You can type down from here. Actually, I should use the graphical user interface. Be consistent. Use the web interface, the tools. I'm going to click down and restart under this manage server, under remote manager. And in fact, I do want to down my server. I want to take my server down. And all these things are sort of going to go away. So I'm just going to close Chrome. It's not going to make any difference because the server is not going to be up. And I can switch over to the next tab to watch my server. Nothing really happens. You don't see the process happening. It just goes down in the background until it comes back to your VMware Workstation setup screen. Since we've done something substantial to our server, this would be a really good time to do a snapshot. And going under VM, snapshot, take snapshot. This would be post volumes. Created a 1 terabyte data volume and a home volume, or whatever information you put under its description. And I take my snapshot. That way now, what you can do, and I'd strongly recommend that you do, is go back to VM snapshot, snapshot manager, and you're over here somewhere, something past post volumes, because you have all your volumes there. Click on base image. Go to the base image, which means that you have no volumes or partitions or even extra drives, and go through all the activities we did today again. And then when you do that, you revert back to the base image again, and you do all those activities again. And you add physical drives, well, virtual drives, and you add partitions, and you add pools, and you add volumes, and delete them and add them, and then you start from the base image and you do it again. And the more you practice, the more familiar you're going to be with it. You know, we don't cover this every week, but you will be ultimately tested on this in the future again of having to do this. So the more you practice, the better you feel with it, the better it's going to be. Questions or comments? Anything?
When you created the multiple drives, essentially.
Yes. When I created multiple drives.
Mine split it up into like 2 adapter cards as soon as I started making the second set of 20 gig drives.
Actually added a different adapter card.
Yours did too once you put it under added the 1 terabyte.
Oh, I'm the wrong one. Oh, no, not. Correct. If they're all the same type of drive, it should have shown up underneath the same adapter. Oh, let me power it on. Oh, never mind. VM power off. I have the wrong snapshot. I want to go to this one. Okay, so I would have restored it prior to having drives. So let's see, hard disk. I have 4 drives and they're all SCSI. Right now is what they're listed as. I'm going to power on the machine and see if they show up as different adapters or not. Actually, if I hit Control Escape right now, that's the logo screen, which is 3. I can click to the system console screen and actually watch it. As far as just to block it, I guess it like scares people or something. You know, seeing all these command lines going through with OKs. So we have to cover it with something pretty. Just wait for it to boot. Okay, my server's up. So let's go back to my client computer, my Windows 7. Go to Chrome, Management Services, Remote Manager, Proceed. I do need to type my password again. And if I look under Partition Disks, I only have 1 controller. If you have 2, it's not a big deal. It really is not a big deal. It just means that they're set up differently, that some could have been SCSI. I'm not even sure what else VMware. Is it IDE? Okay, that could be. So being IDE, it wouldn't be hot swappable, so you wouldn't be able to add it while it's on. Yeah, it always defaults to SCSI anyway. But you could change it to something else. It's not going to hurt anything. Just realize that. Do you still see 2 adapters on there? Okay. Does it say what they are? It's an IDE? Yeah. So a couple things could have happened during the installation of the Novell server. Possibly NetWare wasn't chosen as the operating system that'll be installed. And again, it doesn't make any difference. All it does is come up with some defaults along the way. And it could have defaulted to, using an IDE drive instead. Or it could have been actually checked. Hey, I want to check that. There could be various things. It's not going to make any difference. Especially for adding drives, you're going to add a SCSI drive, and that is hot swappable, so you can add those on the fly. Worst case is you bring the server down, add all the drives, bring the server back up. I mean, that'd be the worst case, and even that's not that difficult. So, other questions? Good question. Other questions? Okay, the rest of the day is yours to practice and ask questions.